Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a play. When the Washington Commanders exited the field after their crushing loss to the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC Championship game last season, the sense of unfinished business was palpable across the entire roster. It was one of those defeats that doesn't just sting. It lingers, settles into the soul of a team, and motivates every single player to come back stronger. Fans felt it in their bones, coaches felt it in every strategic meeting, and players replayed the moments that slipped through their fingers, the plays they wished they could redo. That game, though now a memory, has become the focal point of an entire offseason. The Commanders set out with renewed purpose, determined not only to correct the tactical errors that led to the embarrassment, but also to prove to themselves and the league that the setback was temporary. Revenge, pride, and championship aspirations all intertwined in this drive, forming a narrative that will carry them through the entire 2025 campaign. Sports Illustrated analyst Mitch Goldick has identified the Commanders' Week 18 rematch against the Eagles as the single most consequential game of the season, a game that carries stakes beyond mere playoff seeding. He predicts it will feel like a de facto division championship, a clash that could define not just the final standings, but the legacy of the season itself. Goldick's assertion rests on multiple layers of intrigue. The defending champion Eagles aim to repeat, the Commanders seek redemption, and the history of the NFC East, notorious for its inability to produce repeat champions, adds a tantalizing wrinkle. The matchup is more than a regular season finale. It's a storyline that promises drama, intensity, and emotional resonance for players and fans alike. As he notes, the context makes the contest compelling, from the individual narratives to the broader implications for both franchises, transforming what might otherwise be just another December game into the most anticipated clash of the year. The backstory driving this matchup is impossible to ignore, particularly the memory of Frankie Louvu's infamous leap over the pile to stop the Eagles' tush-push play last season. That single moment has been etched into the lore of both teams, representing the razor-thin margins between triumph and humiliation. Louvu himself has reflected on it with humor now, joking about his gravity-defying effort, but the sting at the time was acute, symbolizing a defeat the Commanders are desperate to erase. This narrative thread adds layers of personality and history to the Week 18 clash, giving fans and analysts talking points beyond the usual tactical breakdowns. In a league often dominated by statistics and player metrics, it's moments like Louvu's leap that humanize the game, remind viewers why they fell in love with football, and provide a personal through line for what promises to be a dramatic season conclusion. Washington's preparation for the rematch has been meticulous, focusing on shoring up weaknesses exposed by the Eagles last season. A critical concern was stopping the controversial tush-push, a tactic that gave Philadelphia an edge in short-yardage situations. To address this, the Commanders added veteran defensive tackle Eddie Goldman, whose reputation as a disruptive interior force gives the team hope that they can neutralize the Eagles' signature play. This addition is emblematic of a larger defensive overhaul, one that includes the release of longtime stalwart Jonathan Allen and the acquisition of lineman Javon Kinlaw and Dietrich Wise Jr. The collective goal of these moves is to create a front that can control the line of scrimmage, punish ball carriers in tight quarters, and provide the kind of consistent defensive reliability the team lacked in the previous postseason. It's a strategic gambit rooted in both necessity and ambition, highlighting how seriously Washington takes this revenge narrative. Beyond the tactical implications, the Week 18 matchup has historical resonance for the NFC East. The division has long been marked by volatility, and no team has repeated as champion since 2004. For the Commanders, defeating the Eagles would not only deliver personal vindication for last year's championship heartbreak, but also represent a broader historical accomplishment. Sports Illustrated's analysis frames this as more than a game. It's a chance to redefine the division's hierarchy and rewrite a narrative that has persisted for 2 decades. The potential to disrupt Philadelphia's bid for consecutive division titles adds a tantalizing layer of drama. For fans, the stakes become simultaneously intimate and epic. The players are fighting for pride, the coaching staff for legacy, and the division itself is caught in the tension of history, waiting for a narrative twist that could resonate far beyond a single December afternoon. Analysts have drawn comparisons between this potential season finale and last year's NFC North showdown between the Detroit Lions and Minnesota Vikings, which produced breathtaking drama in Week 18. That game had playoff implications, a division title, and the raw emotional intensity that makes football compelling, and the Commanders-Eagles matchup promises a similar spectacle. Jaden Daniels' rookie season with Washington added an unexpected element to the mix, injecting youthful exuberance and talent into a team already motivated by revenge. The combination of storyline, skill, and stakes creates a perfect storm for fans craving excitement and narrative depth. Just as the Lions and Vikings clash captured national attention, this matchup could dominate headlines, highlight reels, and water cooler discussions, providing a crescendo for the regular season that reminds everyone why they follow the sport with such devotion. The narrative arc of the Commanders' season hinges on incremental improvements and strategic additions that can change the outcome of one pivotal game. It's a storyline that emphasizes both collective growth and individual accountability, showing how off-season acquisitions, coaching adjustments, and player development converge in high-stakes moments. Every practice, every schematic tweak, and every player signing carries weight because of the Week 18 showdown, transforming ordinary preparation into a narrative of destiny and redemption. Fans follow these threads closely, appreciating the layers of strategy and human drama that make football more than just a game. It's this intersection of planning, execution, and emotional resonance that elevates Washington's season into a story worth tracking from Week 1, with the final chapter potentially written on a chilly December night in Philadelphia, where history, pride, and championship dreams collide. The emotional stakes extend beyond mere professional achievement, touching on fan culture, city pride, and the identity of the franchise itself. For Washington supporters, the chance to see their team challenge the defending champions in a high-pressure environment is not just about wins and losses. It's about vindication, communal experience, and the thrill of witnessing history in the making. Analysts and commentators, including Goldick, emphasize the holistic nature of this game's significance, highlighting how a single matchup can encapsulate an entire season's worth of tension, preparation, and narrative arc. The storyline is so compelling precisely because it resonates on multiple levels: tactical, emotional, historical, and symbolic, creating a football experience that extends far beyond the field and into the collective consciousness of fans, players, and media alike. From a tactical perspective, the offensive and defensive chess match in this game promises to be intricate, nuanced, and exhilarating. The Eagles, with their championship pedigree, will bring schemes designed to exploit every weakness, while the Commanders will counter with strategic adjustments, personnel rotations, and calculated risks aimed at neutralizing Philadelphia's advantages. Every play could carry enormous consequence, particularly in short yardage and high-pressure situations where the outcome might determine playoff positioning or even a division title. Analysts will dissect formations, tendencies, and individual matchups with fervor, while viewers will experience the unfolding drama in real time, feeling the tension of each snap, the exhilaration of every turnover, and the heartbreak of any mistake. In essence, it's a microcosm of what makes football a sport of strategy, athleticism, and emotional investment, all condensed into a single, climactic event that could define the season. The Week 18 showdown between Washington and Philadelphia is more than a game. It's a narrative culmination, a test of preparation, talent, and resilience, and a story of redemption that stretches back to last season's NFC Championship disappointment. Fans, analysts, and players alike are captivated by the multiple layers of significance, from individual heroics to historical implications within the NFC East, and from strategic chess matches to the emotional resonance of revenge. As the season unfolds, each matchup, each player performance, and each tactical adjustment will contribute to the larger story that ultimately converges in this climactic game. If everything aligns, if talent, strategy, and circumstance meet, the December finale promises to deliver excitement, drama, and a narrative so compelling that it transcends the ordinary regular season contest. offering a football spectacle fans will remember for years to come. It is, without question, the most anticipated matchup of the entire season. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. Dan Quinn, the head coach of the Washington Commanders, has reportedly set a high-stakes ultimatum for star wide receiver Terry McLaurin, a move that insiders say is shaking the very foundation of the team's locker room. According to sources close to the organization, Quinn has made it clear that McLaurin's contract negotiations, commitment to off-season programs, and performance in training camps will determine his future with the team, effectively placing the receiver under a microscope. The tension, which began subtly during spring workouts, has escalated to a point where teammates are reportedly split, with some supporting Quinn's approach to accountability and others empathizing with McLaurin, who has been a consistent offensive threat for the Commanders over multiple seasons. Rumors indicate that the ultimatum may not be limited to verbal warnings, but could involve concrete roster decisions, potentially reshaping the team's offensive strategy and sending shockwaves throughout the organization. Fans are already buzzing on social media, debating the implications of such a high-profile confrontation, speculating on trades, holdouts, and potential disruptions to team chemistry, with some insiders suggesting that this standoff could define the direction of the Commanders for years to come. The situation reportedly intensified after recent joint practices revealed a visible rift between McLaurin and the coaching staff. Sources hint that Quinn, known for his strict discipline and no-nonsense approach, has been increasingly frustrated with what he perceives as a lack of full commitment from McLaurin in certain aspects of team preparation. The wide receiver, on the other hand, has shown signs of irritation, believing that his past performances and consistent statistics speak for themselves. This clash of perspectives has created a palpable tension not only between player and coach, but also among the supporting cast of the team. Several unnamed players have reportedly commented on the unusual atmosphere in the locker room, describing a mix of anxiety and speculation about what Quinn's ultimatum truly entails. Analysts are suggesting that this confrontation is emblematic of the broader struggle within the Commanders organization, where management is seeking immediate results, while veteran players are pushing for stability and respect for their track records. Rumors even suggest that the front office is closely monitoring the situation, prepared to intervene if the conflict escalates further and begins to impact on-field performance, making this a story with potential long-term ramifications for both McLaurin and the Commanders' season. Industry insiders claim that one of the most concerning aspects of this ultimatum is the timing, which coincides with crucial off-season drills that determine starting lineups and team chemistry. The Commanders have reportedly been adjusting practice schedules to accommodate tense discussions between Quinn and McLaurin, fueling speculation that this situation is not a temporary disagreement, but a systemic issue. Some sources within the organization suggest that Quinn's ultimatum was designed as a wake-up call to the entire roster, sending a message that no player, regardless of status or past performance, is exempt from accountability. On social media, fans are divided between supporting Quinn's assertive coaching style and defending McLaurin's loyalty and previous contributions to the team. Rumors even point to private meetings between McLaurin's representatives and the team's management, exploring possible compromises or even preparing for alternative outcomes, including trades or renegotiations. Observers note that if the standoff continues without resolution, it could alter the Commanders' offensive strategy dramatically, forcing Quinn to rethink play calling and potentially relying on less experienced receivers to fill gaps, a scenario that could impact the team's competitiveness in an already challenging league environment. Speculation is rampant that Quinn's ultimatum may extend beyond performance metrics to include personal conduct and media interactions, further complicating McLaurin's situation. According to insider chatter, the coach is particularly sensitive to perceived distractions or negative publicity, interpreting any off-field commentary or social media activity by players as a potential threat to team cohesion. This has reportedly put McLaurin in a precarious position, balancing his role as a public figure with the strict expectations imposed by Quinn. Sources suggest that other players are observing the fallout closely, gauging how they might navigate similar ultimatums without jeopardizing their own careers. Analysts argue that this dynamic could mark a turning point in how the Commanders manage player relationships and enforce discipline, potentially setting a precedent for future roster decisions. Rumors are swirling about whether this publicized tension will lead to formal internal investigations or mediation, or if the situation will remain under wraps until concrete moves, such as trades or contract adjustments, are announced. Fans are already speculating about McLaurin's next moves, with some suggesting that his options may include holding out, demanding a trade, or negotiating incentives to align with Quinn's expectations while preserving his professional reputation. Insider reports indicate that the Commanders' front office is treading carefully, aware that mishandling the McLaurin ultimatum could alienate not only a key player, but also the wider fan base. Team executives are said to be in continuous dialogue with Quinn, balancing the coach's desire for discipline with the business implications of potentially losing a star receiver. Rumors suggest that multiple contingency plans are being drafted, ranging from renegotiation of McLaurin's contract to exploring trade options with rival teams who have expressed interest in acquiring his talents. Meanwhile, the locker room reportedly remains tense, with veteran players offering private counsel to McLaurin while younger teammates are left uncertain about how to interpret the unfolding drama. Analysts speculate that this standoff might affect training camp energy, in-game chemistry, and even the morale of the entire squad. Social media platforms are ablaze with fan theories, ranging from predicting McLaurin's eventual departure to debating Quinn's leadership style, illustrating how a single ultimatum has sparked a narrative that extends far beyond the field and into the public consciousness. Reports from sources familiar with the internal workings of the Commanders suggest that tension between Quinn and McLaurin has historical roots. The coach is said to value unquestioned commitment and alignment with team philosophy, while McLaurin's approach has often been described as independent-minded, emphasizing personal preparation and professional growth outside team-directed activities. This philosophical divergence has reportedly reached a tipping point, prompting Quinn to issue a formal ultimatum intended to clarify expectations and establish accountability. Insiders claim that discussions between the two have been candid but emotionally charged, with each side unwilling to compromise on key principles. Some sources even speculate that this clash could influence upcoming negotiations with other players, as the organization may use McLaurin's situation as a benchmark for expected behavior and performance standards. Fans and media analysts alike are dissecting every reported interaction, trying to predict the likely outcome and the potential ripple effects on the Commanders' offensive production, locker room unity, and the broader narrative surrounding the team's management approach in the modern NFL landscape. A key element fueling speculation is the rumored involvement of external advisors and agents, who are allegedly advising McLaurin on potential strategic responses to Quinn's ultimatum. Insiders claim that confidential discussions are ongoing with representatives from other franchises, exploring whether a trade scenario could be advantageous for both parties if the standoff escalates. At the same time, team management is reportedly preparing internal assessments evaluating McLaurin's overall contribution to the squad, including advanced metrics that could support either retention or a trade. Sources indicate that the atmosphere within the organization has become highly charged, with staffers working overtime to manage communications, anticipate media fallout, and maintain operational focus despite the uncertainty surrounding the receiver's status. Rumors are particularly rampant regarding potential shifts in offensive schemes if McLaurin's availability becomes uncertain, with backup receivers and younger talent being scrutinized in new light. Social media discourse mirrors the chaos, with fans and commentators creating speculative narratives about how the ultimatum could redefine both Quinn's coaching legacy and McLaurin's career trajectory, further amplifying the perception of a crisis within the Commanders organization. Some insiders are hinting that Quinn's ultimatum is as much a psychological maneuver as a tactical decision, intended to pressure McLaurin while signaling to the entire roster that standards are non-negotiable. Sources claim that this approach is consistent with Quinn's historical coaching style, characterized by setting rigid expectations and leveraging high-profile challenges to reinforce discipline across the squad. Analysts suggest that the psychological stakes are particularly high given McLaurin's standing as a fan favorite and his significant on-field contributions, which could make any disciplinary action polarizing among supporters. Rumors suggest that teammates are attempting to mediate, with some privately encouraging McLaurin to comply with Quinn's directives while others caution him against public acquiescence. This dynamic has reportedly created an undercurrent of tension that permeates meetings, practices, and even casual interactions within the team. The broader NFL community is watching closely, with rival coaches and executives reportedly taking notes on how the Commanders manage the situation, potentially viewing it as a case study in leadership, player relations, and crisis management under the intense scrutiny of both fans and media. Sources close to the team claim that part of the friction involves Quinn's perceived rigidity in enforcing practice routines, which allegedly clashes with McLaurin's individualized training regimen. Observers suggest that the coach views adherence to team-directed activities as a reflection of loyalty and professionalism, while the receiver prioritizes personal optimization strategies developed over years of consistent performance. Insiders note that this conflict has created subtle but noticeable divisions, with some players aligning themselves with Quinn's emphasis on conformity and others quietly supporting McLaurin's autonomy. Analysts predict that this philosophical divergence could have implications for off-season planning, the structure of training camps, and even the long-term culture Quinn is attempting to instill. Rumors circulating among insiders imply that if an agreement is not reached, the team could face difficult decisions regarding McLaurin's future, including possible benching or trade, a scenario that would reverberate not only throughout the Commanders organization but also across the league. Meanwhile, fans are weighing in passionately online, discussing loyalty, accountability, and the potential cost of losing one of the team's most dynamic offensive weapons, further fueling the perception that a crisis is unfolding within Washington. Whispers within the organization suggest that the ultimatum has already prompted strategic discussions among the coaching staff and front office about contingency plans for the season. Analysts indicate that Quinn is reportedly mapping out multiple scenarios, from maintaining McLaurin as a central piece of the offense to minimizing his involvement if tensions persist. Sources claim that these deliberations involve detailed playbook adjustments, assessing alternative target options for the quarterback, and evaluating potential draft or trade acquisitions to mitigate any impact. Rumors are also pointing to high-level meetings involving Quinn, McLaurin, and senior management, seeking either a resolution or a framework for next steps that would preserve both team performance and public perception. The atmosphere in the locker room, according to insiders, is charged with speculation, with players and staff carefully observing every interaction for hints of direction. Fans are caught in the crossfire, consuming every report and tweet, constructing elaborate scenarios of either reconciliation or dramatic fallout, demonstrating how a single ultimatum can become the nucleus of a story that captivates both internal stakeholders and the wider NFL audience, with consequences that could extend far beyond the immediate season. Several industry observers suggest that if the standoff between Quinn and McLaurin continues unresolved, it could have ramifications that extend into contract negotiations with other players. Sources indicate that the organization may use this moment as a precedent, signaling to current and future players that performance and adherence to team directives are non-negotiable elements of staying with the Commanders. Analysts are speculating that the tension could also affect recruitment strategies, as potential free agents might perceive the environment as high-pressure, demanding, and potentially volatile. Rumors point to ongoing private discussions about whether McLaurin will acquiesce to the ultimatum, negotiate terms, or explore opportunities elsewhere, with each possibility carrying distinct operational and financial implications. Social media commentary is reflecting the uncertainty, ranging from fervent defense of McLaurin's contributions to criticism of Quinn's hardline approach. The situation is increasingly being framed as a test of leadership, loyalty, and strategic foresight, suggesting that the outcome will likely influence both the immediate dynamics of the Commanders' roster and the broader narrative surrounding the franchise for years to come. Finally, insiders are hinting that the public and media response to Quinn's ultimatum could play a pivotal role in shaping the resolution. Sources report that management is acutely aware of the optics of the situation, understanding that fan sentiment, media framing, and social media narratives could pressure both coach and player toward compromise or escalation. Analysts speculate that if McLaurin chooses to publicly challenge the ultimatum, it could spark a broader conversation about player empowerment, contract leverage, and coaching authority in the NFL, while also impacting locker room morale. Conversely, a swift private resolution might reinforce Quinn's disciplinary approach, but risk alienating fans who sympathize with the receiver. Rumors continue to swirl regarding potential trade partners, financial arrangements, and strategic adjustments, leaving the impression that this story is far from settled. What began as an internal disagreement between coach and star player has now grown into a full-blown narrative, captivating insiders, fans, and the media alike, with outcomes that could redefine both Quinn's tenure and McLaurin's career in ways that are still unfolding and highly uncertain. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.